In today's podcast, I want to talk about releasing depression. If you suffer from depression or have suffered from depression, you know how terrible it is. We can have depression that is coming from our own body. It can be a chemical imbalance, but we can also have what I call the external depression, which is things that have happened to us that made us feel really depressed. Depression is very difficult to live with if you've had it, and I think it's something that now is being talked about a lot more, but I don't know if people are getting much respite from it. There's a lot of talk, but I think there's still a lot of people who are depressed. If you have a depression, you will know. However, sometimes people are unaware of it to the degree they should, how bad it actually is. So you might think you're a bit depressed, whereas your partner or your family thinks you're very depressed. And there are signs, and you can Google all that about depression, all the different signs. I think that some people have depression where they're very sad and don't want to do anything. And you need to understand too that some people have depression where they feel angry all the time, and that's actually can be a sign of depression, not just feeling like crap. You also feel angry all the time. Energetically, depression is the energy being almost paralyzed or blocked. Like that's how it is energetically, like it can't move, and that's why you can't move, and that's why you don't want to do anything, you don't care less, and you just don't have any feeling to do anything. It's not a numbness quite, even though it can be, but it's just that you can't basically to do anything. That means the energy there is held, and the energy in your aura is not actually moving. Sometimes when there's a trauma, or if somebody dies, or your marriage falls apart, that can cause that to stop, and it's almost like you shut down, and then you have depression from then on. In the aura, I found the major places that we hold depression are in the heart chakra and in the crown. I would say in the chakras, they're the ones I find constantly that when I'm checking people for depression, that's where it is. So when you're doing your release work, it's in your heart chakra and then in your crown. So it's got to do with how you feel and then how you think. And those two combined together can make your life quite miserable. There are many things you can use for depression. You can use pharmaceuticals, of course. Some people use St. John's wort, but you can't use it with pharmaceuticals. They don't go together. Other people use the teas. They're similar teas to what you use for anxiety, and sometimes they can help you. Chamomile is good for depression, I think, and also anger. I think that if you want to use these things, do so, because you're trying to lift it and shake it and get rid of it. Which brings me to the point of exercise. The more exercise you can get, a half-hour walk, running up and down, I have a little trampoline I jump on, doing your yoga, this will actually shift the energy of the depression. So use that to shift it off. And if you're feeling very depressed, sometimes having a shower will actually help to wash that out of the aura. Remember, I'm just talking energy. So I'm trying to find ways to move it out of my aura. The tapping's good, meditation, healing on yourself. I feel bringing in certain lights is good because you will feel quite negative, so you'll have a lot of negative energy in your aura. And I like to release that, to release all the negativity that I feel. And then I bring in what I call the positive energy light. So I keep bringing positive energy into my aura and flooding it. And I also bring in calming energy into my aura, because these are actually energies. I'll speak about them in the light section. So you can use that to try and make yourself feel better. Movement is very good. So anything, as I've just said a minute ago, movement. And you might like to try some of the different things like Tai Chi, where the body is moving and you're keeping the body moving, and it helps to release it. The oils that I like for depression are the uplifting ones, like all the orange, the lemon, the bergamot, mandarin. If you burn those oils or wear those oils, they're actually uplifting. So what we're trying to do is lift the body up. It's different to anxiety. We're trying to actually get the body to vibrate higher, because depression is a very low vibration in the body. Whereas anxiety is shaky in the body, that energy is shaky like fear. Depression is just like dull and a big thud in the body. When you're trying to move it, you've got to do something to shake it out energetically, by herbs and oils, also by motion. This is very important. Another good thing if you're depressed is to verbalize to someone. You can go and get counselling, but you can also do a lot of journaling. Whatever you write down, somehow they say that something like 98%, I read somewhere, that when we write it, it's released, or it is expressed more so than even when we speak. I have no understanding why they've come to that conclusion, but I actually think it probably is true, because I've done a lot of journaling. I just have a little book, and I just keep writing in it how I feel, and I get it out because I'm expressing it. And the more we express, the more we get it out, the less energy we're carrying. Because remember, our thoughts and our feelings are energy, and if we can release them, we get them out. So write out how you feel. And one of the things I think is very powerful is to let yourself cry. If you're depressed, you feel sad, you feel upset, you feel distraught, so cry. You won't cry any tears that aren't there. Every tear that you cry is out of your system. I always think like a big bucket, and especially if you've suffered through grief or some kind of loss. It could be your job or your career, a relationship. It could be lots of things that we lose. Have a good old cry. You might not want to cry in the office, but if that happens, well, there you go. I'm actually surprised how few people cry publicly. After my husband died, I cried everywhere. And when I used to come home, my son would say to me, "So where did you cry today?" And I'm like, "Oh, in the bank today," or "Oh, no, at Woolworths," or something. So these tears need to be expressed, because when we hold them down, they keep the depression there in some way. So you have a good cry, let yourself cry. It's good to physically release what is also emotionally there and let it out. If you have a good friend, they're often very good to speak to, because they understand you and they will let you talk, and the more you let it out, the less you're carrying. That's what I'm trying to say to you. You're not carrying that energy when you keep letting it out and keep letting it out. You will be on repeat with some things, don't worry about that. Particularly if you've gone through some traumatic situation for you, you'll be talking about it a lot. They say, is it if you're still talking about it, you haven't let it go? And I actually think there's a lot of truth in that. So you'll peak and be talking about it a lot, and then as you become better, you'll be talking about it intermittently, and then eventually only occasionally. Depression is a very negative energy in the aura, but that doesn't mean it's going to kill you or anything. It just means that it's a negative energy. You can be very depressed from being sick as well. Like if you had a heart attack, people will be depressed after the heart attack often. And if you have backache or any sort of constant pain, that will be making you very depressed as well. So it's not always, sometimes it's quite organic, it's quite physical, but it doesn't mean we can't let it go. The heart is very implicated in depression. So when you're doing your release work, your tapping, your pendulum, your meditation, your hypnosis, let go of the sadness and the depression in your heart, like your literal heart. The heart will hold a lot of depression, and also the heart chakra, but the actual heart. And you can also let it go when you're doing it from your mind. It will sit in the emotional body, in the layers, and in the astral body. That's where I found it most. So it sits in, when you're going to work on it, it'll be the emotional body, the layer, beg your pardon, and the astral body. And you can Google them and find out more about those. I'm going to do some podcasts on them as well. Depression is debilitating. It can make you want to just stay in your room. And I encourage you to allow yourself to do that as much as you need to be, and then get out. It's like a balancing act. The other way to deal with depression is to accept you have it and just go on autopilot and do things. Set your tasks and just make yourself do a few of them. I think the more we do a few things, the more it shifts out. My heart goes out to you if you suffer from depression. It's terrible, the black dog as they call it. Unless people have it, I don't think they actually understand it. They tend to think, oh, people are lazy or just get on with it or whatever. But if you've got a family background where there's been depression too, you might be genetically predisposed to it, and you might even have kids who have depression. Keep an eye on your kids if you have depression. It'll often run through the families. So just keep an eye on them. Sometimes they won't be telling you, but you'll be able to see the signs. And when people start tidying up around their bedroom or clearing their stuff out, it's often a sign that it's starting to lift a little bit. When you're depressed, you don't care how messy things are or whether the bill gets paid. You just don't care anymore. Once you start to do these things, you can see there's movement coming ahead. A good healer can also help you. Someone who does Reiki, and I would suggest that you put your hands on your heart at night to release it, because depression actually has a pain. So tends to have an achy pain when I do it. And also you can put your hands on the top of your head and do it there. It's important that you work on this because it can make your life very difficult, and the less depression you have, the happier your life will be, obviously, but also the more you can get done. And also socially, it's much easier to go out when you're less depressed. Good luck with this one. Depression's hard. Use what you can. I think a lot of the herbs work and they shift things out, and I think even things, the vibrational medicine, I like rescue remedy. And also if you go and look at the Bach remedies, there's some that are specifically for depression, and you might find that they work for you as well. It's finding really what works for your aura, for your body. It's not just one thing for everyone. You've got to work out what works for you. So I'm hoping that you have a happier week, and I'm hoping you can release some of the depression and let it go, because it is an energy. I always see it like in Winnie the Pooh, Eeyore, when he's got the big cloud on his head. And that's what it looks like to me when I'm energetically working on someone. I can see like there's a big black cloud on their head or big black cloud around their heart. And that's what you want to get rid of. You want to release that energy. And you might do a visual where you see where your cloud is and then break it up and then release it and lift it off the body. And you can also put your essential oils there. Rose is very good for depression, so it's very expensive, I know, but you might get something with even rose with something, like within a little mix. But rose is good. And rose quartz, if you have rose quartz, and you can, if you're female, you wear it in your bra, or if you want to just dangle it and as a pendant. Rose quartz is very good to help release depression. And you might want to explore some of those other things that can help you to let it go. I hope you have a happy week, and I'm sending you lots of love and light.